So, hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of In Conversation With. My name is John Lunn, aka Jonnychipz, and in this video series we talk about all things cloud, with experts and advocates from right across the industry, covering a wide variety of topics from skills and careers through to technical overviews and soft skills. So whether you're watching this on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter or LinkedIn, thanks so much for tuning in. It's really appreciated. Please do take part in the chat below. Drop us a comment, like, subscribe to the channel. It really does mean a lot. Okay, so I'm so excited to be joined by a super fun guy from right across our community here. He's a self-proclaimed PowerShell and automation enthusiast, and he's joining us today to talk about his career and his journey into the fantastic ScriptRunner, as well as some of the awesome community content that he's currently creating. So, based over in Heidelberg, Germany, I'd like to welcome my next guest on In Conversation With as Mr. Heiko Brenn. How are you doing, Heiko? Thanks for joining me.
Hey, Johnny. Thanks for having me. I'm doing perfectly fine. Thank you.
Oh, good. And thanks for bearing with me as I struggle through recording my first proper episode of the new year with you. So it's always a disaster when you take a break from doing these things, isn't it?
But you got it done. That's the main thing, right?
Eventually, you know. How many coffees did you have, Heiko?
I don't know.
Yeah. Keep going. Look, Heiko, I've given you a bit of an introduction now. I mean, there's some really cool areas I know we're going to have a little bit of a chat around in this episode today. But look, do you want to start things off? Give yourself a little bit of a proper intro and let us know, you know, your journey into tech, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I would love to. Yeah. So my name is Heiko. I'm 52, and I'm in the IT area for almost 30 years. Just because of Twitter, I just got reminded a few days ago that I started with, and I came back to my mind, like with DOS 3.3, OS2, novel network. So that was my first touching points. So that's really, it feels like ages ago. But I got into tech really, this was more like by accident. I did an apprenticeship as a bank clerk, and they had a position free in the IT department, and they asked me if I would be interested, and I said, well, why not? So I started way back, from scratch, reading books, trying things out, and then eventually I started more going towards the Microsoft area. I became kind of a fanboy of Microsoft Exchange with 2003. I did all kinds. So I did administration first for all kinds of systems. Then I went into consulting. I used to work for a email security company for 18 years, where also had been product management, marketing, consulting as well. And since 2019, I think it is already, I joined ScriptRunner, and I am now mainly into automation, PowerShell, all kind of that fun stuff.
Yeah, I've seen some of the bits and pieces you've been up to on the socials over the last few months. It just, when I first got in contact with you, it's like I'd known you for years, Heiko. You're one of those guys that just seems to have this element of fun in everything you do, which I find is brilliant. So look, you've had a really kind of varied career there. I mean, you've gone through messaging. Started off. God, I remember Novell. It was directory services. They had their own. It was the file system as well, wasn't it? Novell file system and directory.
Yeah, they had the NLMs, their modules, and their NDS, which was way before Active Directory came along, which was at that point was really, I think I would say the best thing in the industry regarding directory services.
I think I'm probably old enough to still remember parts of that as well myself. So it's terrible, isn't it, when you when you get of a certain age, it's all these things.
Well, let's call it experience, all right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's experience. We can relate to things, can't we? But so obviously now, you said there that you moved into the world of more PowerShell and automation, and these are the things I've seen you taking part with more in the community these days with ScriptRunner.
Yes.
I mean, do you want to give us a little bit of a background as to what you're up to? What kind of things you're doing with ScriptRunner? That would be awesome to hear about.
Yeah, absolutely. So the general idea of ScriptRunner is to simplify the way you develop, manage, and delegate PowerShell scripts. So in general, PowerShell is really just used by the experts, so to speak, right? So you kind of have to be familiar with the command line, and you have to have the permissions, and you maybe have the time to write scripts and stuff like that. And that's typically limited to people, in the expert circle, so to speak. And so the idea of ScriptRunner is to kind of open up this awesome technology invented by Jeffrey Snover. Thanks for that. Still, great job. And to open that technology so that really the whole organization ideally can benefit from. So the idea is, and I have a little slide here, maybe just to show you that from a picture perspective. So it says 2 ways of using PowerShell, which is maybe a little bit provocative, but I think it kind of gets across the idea, which is if you start using PowerShell, you're trying to you build your own scripts, and so you at one point you end up with having all kinds of different scripts for doing things, and because you build them, you know exactly where to go to. You have these tools, and maybe they are in your email, they are on a network share, they are wherever, and as long as is it just you that is using it, it probably might work, but it's become kind of a challenge when you want to involve other people with it. Like, okay, you can take this script to build new VMs in Azure, or to start onboarding services or stuff like that, because then you have to make sure, these other people, do they have the AC module installed? Do they have permissions to run it against your Azure subscription, for example?
I'm with you. So is that this is my OneNote, Heiko? Yeah, this is my OneNote full of those scripts that over the years have served me well. Is that what you're getting at here? Is that I didn't even think about OneNote. Yeah, of course. That's another. If you just have simple, some kind of one-liners that saves the day for you, because okay, it's there. But so then it's always a great starting point to start using PowerShell that way, because that's how you get your feedback, that's how you get your experience, that's how you see the benefit of starting to using PowerShell. Now so that's, if we say, okay, that's kind of the starting point of it, and then later on you say, okay, now I would like maybe somebody in help desk or another IT colleague should be able to do that, but how to organize that. And so the idea of ScriptRunner is to really bring this into a well-organized and secure infrastructure where you can exactly say, okay, this is the script for onboarding, this is the script for VMs, for creating SQL databases or whatever, and everybody uses the same script at the same time. You have a secure way of managing and organizing the credentials and the modules. So all the, let's say, what I call the logistics around PowerShell, to make this something that really at the end, ideally everybody can use without really the need of knowing how PowerShell works. So one thing, maybe if I just can show you one more slide with 2 pictures, is translating every PowerShell script into something that's just simply a web user interface, where the idea is it really can be used by anybody. Nobody needs to know how PowerShell works at this point. Of course, in the background, all the things that you do with PowerShell are still there, and we're taking care of, okay, it's being used in a proper way in a secure environment. We take care of running the scripts, connecting to our backend systems on premises or in the cloud. But the user, that could be maybe even in the line of business, doesn't have to know anything about it. And you manage what the people are able to select, what they are able to do. And you don't have to give these people privileged permissions, because the PowerShell execution always happens
inside of ScriptRunner. So the people who are consuming that can be just a normal domain user, and just based on the delegation to this person, you enable this person to do something in Azure or in Office 365 or in SharePoint or in Exchange, Active Directory, and really in the secure way.
That makes a lot of sense, Heiko. So what you're doing, if you've got those skills in-house, if you're a reasonably sized IT department, you've got skills in PowerShell, and you're able to kind of build these modularized or functions within PowerShell, you can expose them, like you say, to any user in a nice methodical way, in a secure way, that you can kind of run business processes against, I guess. Then, if you're looking, a user needs to be able to do something, create a PowerShell, put it into ScriptRunner, and give the user access to run that. And they have no clue then, I'm assuming. They don't know that it's PowerShell they're running. They're just putting a few parameters in and clicking go.
That's absolutely right. And given that we have this really great ecosystem around PowerShell with Microsoft, with other vendors, with, of course, the community that does great stuff with coming up with their own modules in the PowerShell gallery or on Git, that really allows anybody who is starting to use PowerShell or using PowerShell in the daily business to really make this a platform that really can help the whole organization, and it helps the people who are writing the PowerShell scripts to become more present instead of being someone there are some people there doing some PowerShell magic stuff, but then really saying, okay, but now, because maybe even other teams, other departments can benefit from it, now these people become even maybe more important, or the work that they do, people realize on a broader scale. And you can read this once in a while on Twitter when people say, PowerShell changed my life. I got a career out of PowerShell thanks to Jeffrey Snover, and so that are real stories, and I'm always impressed about that, and that's why also as you said at the beginning, I'm a PowerShell enthusiast, which is for me very different from being the PowerShell expert, which I'm not really, but I admire all these people who are doing this great stuff with PowerShell and creating things, sharing that with the community, and that's the great thing about the technology PowerShell, but also the people behind the technology and the whole community, really.
Oh, do you know what, Heiko? It's so true. I mean, like you, my background was very much around messaging and Exchange. I've had my time dealing with those products, and obviously Exchange was one of the first Microsoft products that actually had PowerShell launched with it. I think was it 2007, wasn't it? And and like you, I probably class myself as an enthusiast. It's one of those things where you can do a lot of good stuff with a few, couple of lines scripts, or maybe take it a stage further. And they had a PowerShell session at the last virtual Ignite session. I don't know if you saw that, Heiko, with, Jeff Snover was on it. I think April Edwards hosted a little bit of an after-show party on it. And it reinvigorated my thoughts about around, I thought, I want to try and get back into some kind of a development language, and started to do a little bit with .NET and Python. And then you realize, why am I overlooking PowerShell? Why? It's not as if I forget, and I'm not doing it any disservice at all, because I'm not a guru. I'm an enthusiast. But and recently I saw April has tweeted out now around, if you're under 30, can you let us know your thoughts on PowerShell? And it's like,
I read it. I had to comment on it actually.
It's such a cool scripting language, programming language, however you want to frame it. So, I remember one of the questions I asked that panel now, and it's probably a valid point to ask you, Heiko, but what's the funkiest thing you've ever seen? I guess, I'm presuming you've seen a few things automated with PowerShell. Does anything spring to mind?
Absolutely. Well, it's from the fun department. So
fun, good.
It was in the PSConf, the European PowerShell conference. I think it was 2019 in Hanover, and there's this guy. I think Gottlieb Svensson. He's an MVP, and he did 2 sessions and one was controlling a Lego robot called Mr. Bricks with PowerShell and with Azure Functions and all the cool stuff in the background. That was amazing. And he did another session where he controlled a DJ set by, keeping the BMPs in sync and the songs in sync with using PowerShell. Okay. So that was the most interesting thing, let's say, I really saw what people are doing with PowerShell, like this edge cases. I mean, the question is, do you have to do it with PowerShell? No, but is it possible? Obviously, yes. And so that's really, I find inspiring, where people are just taking the things, to an edge where they say, okay, I can still do it with this great technology, and obviously with someone who is really deep into it and loves it. It's really great. And the good news is that there's going to be another PSConf this year in Vienna. I think it's in June, and he's going to be there again. And he has a session again with controlling his Lego robot with PowerShell. So I'm sure that's going to be.
Well, at the end of the day, you can upload it. You could upload it, hold it in ScriptRunner, and we could all control Lego robots with
absolutely.
It so it's to bring. So I mean, Heiko, back to ScriptRunner slightly now. So I mean, how does one get access? Is it a subscription based model? Is it something we've got to install on a server? How does it work? How do we get access to it?
Yeah. So it's a software solution that runs on your VM, either on premises or in the cloud. So we have many customers running it in Azure as a VM. So we are on the way to provide that in the future as a service. But interestingly, we have many customers that says, even if that would be available, we still would like to have this in our own environment, because we talk about the credentials and we talk about the connections to all these different systems where. Right now, at least, organizations still tend to say, okay, it's good that it's under our control, so to speak. And so, you install it on a VM. You need an IIS running, and you install the software, and you're good to go. And and then, of course, you have all kinds of people when it comes to where are they on their PowerShell journey. And so what we provide is we have on GitHub, we have a repo where we have 1,600 ready-to-use scripts that you can you can either take a look at it. I even have a slide. I think I have a slide for that as well. Just check that out. It's on github.com/scriptrunner/action-packs, and for all kinds of platforms: Azure, Office 365, Exchange, VMware, Hyper-V, or whatever. And that's something where we really try also to support the community, to support the people who are starting with PowerShell. Another thing that we provide is a PowerShell poster, which is like the get help that you can put on your office wall. So that's really where we also in this area of education, where we say, okay, because as you said, earlier, like, okay, you forgot all about PowerShell. Sometimes we feel like Microsoft itself is kind of not really having PowerShell on the forefront and in the marketing campaigns and stuff like that. So we try to kind of also wave the flag and make people aware of this cool stuff, obviously, that can be done with PowerShell. And so the scripts really help many people, either by, okay, so this is how we do PowerShell best practice. We have a synopsis, we have a proper commented parameters and stuff like that. And then the other people who are much further in the journey, where it still can be interesting to have maybe some kind of inspiration of I didn't know I could do that also as well, or we're coming up with new scripts because Microsoft is coming out with a new version of a module. The Teams module, for example, is a good example, because there's a lot of things happening right now, and new commandlets are being exposed and can be used. So that's how also this set of scripts are growing step by step.
No, it makes so much sense. So it's great to see you've got that. So that's out available for people in the community to jump onto that Git repo or GitHub repo and and start to have a little sift through. I mean,
absolutely.
No, it's fantastic, Heiko. To be honest, it looks like a great service, and it's certainly worth kind of pushing that message out there. Like you say, especially when you see that PowerShell is there. It's being used in so many different areas now. It's almost like, well, why? Why is it almost a second-class citizen? Microsoft Docs. They seem to have. It's always with Azure. It's always Azure CLI. You'll have PowerShell in there most of the time, or it'll be primarily seems to be AZ CLI now when you talk Azure features and functionality a lot of the time.
You get sometimes I have this impression as well, and sometimes you see the discussions coming up on Twitter once in a while where people are asking, why not so much news about PowerShell? But there are news about PowerShell. Just this week, they announced a new version. It's a release candidate of the PS readline, which actually helps you when you're using PowerShell on the command line. There's IntelliSense. It's there forever, but now it's this predictive intelligence, where it's not just tells you what parameters you have, but it also shows you what kind of parameter values you used in the past.
Okay.
So that's really, I think it's a great step forward to make it even easier to use PowerShell on the command line, and because it learns from what you already did, and then it helps you if you start. Let's say you start using you're typing new ACVM or whatever to create a new VM in Azure, and then it suggests you the whole one-liner, so to speak, from what you did before, and maybe it's then you just have to change a little bit, and you're done.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, what you think that's coming out as a release candidate as part of an install of the PowerShell module itself?
It is an kind of an extension to PowerShell 7, but it's also backward compatible to Windows PowerShell. So the idea, cool. So what the PowerShell team does, which I think is really great, is that they kind of try to keep the PowerShell core engine, so to speak, pretty slim and lightweight, and then they're adding new functionalities around it that you can just plug into it. And the PS readline, for example, is one of these modules that you can add into it. Another one is the secrets management module that allows you to use, for example, Azure Key Vault for your credentials for your scripts.
Oh, I did see. Yeah, that was developed by there's somebody in the community that's developed that, where it can hook into. You can easily allow PowerShell to hook into multiple different kinds of secrets management platforms.
Yes. So Microsoft developed the one, I think, for Azure Key Vault, obviously, but then I think his name is I think Justin Crode. I think he was one of the guys. I think he built one for LastPass and so other providers.
That's right.
That you can plug into, so that. If you have other password walls that you're using, that you could do this as well. So I think that's a cool thing. So we provide connections to main password walls as well. So I think security-wise, of course, that's a great thing, and it's important because obviously you don't want to have any credentials anywhere near your scripts, right? Mm-hmm. So because that's really that's absolutely no-go. So So that's why this is another good example of this concept of adding modules to the PowerShell engine, to the PowerShell core technology, and so extending the possibilities, which I think is really great.
Capabilities, yeah. Look, Heiko, I mean that's fantastic, and it's great to see what you're up to there with ScriptRunner as well. So I mean, I'm going to have a little look at those myself, I think. But I mean, let's stick with the theme of community at the moment, Heiko, and flick back over to our big screen there. So I mean, look, I think I first saw some of your community contributions that looking from the fun department, as you put it. In the recent festive tech calendar event, where you were doing some fantastic stuff with music. I mean, let's start off. I mean, what does community mean to you, Heiko? What do you like to get up to in community?
It's this togetherness. It's this being having common topics, helping each other, being friendly, coming up with ideas. And so that's what I absolutely love about it. And the first time I really experienced the community was, again, way back. I'm old. Way back the days with I had to do with Lotus Notes or later on IBM Domino, and they had a great community. And when I digged more into PowerShell and the Microsoft community, I realized that this is even 10 times more bigger and more people involved and more and different areas, and being part of that is really fun. And for me, combining this stuff, as you said, with music is for me the perfect mix, because I love to make music. I love to listen to music, and to find a link between this technology stuff and music, and finding people like yourself who are in IT and playing the drums. And the more I do it, more I meet these people, where I see instruments in the background when I have talks with them, and it's amazing. It's really amazing.
There's a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Heiko, but I tend to find that there's an awful lot of people in tech that also play an instrument of some variety. It must be something in the water. I don't know.
Maybe. I just had a conversation with Jeff Hicks, who is one of the most well-known PowerShell people. I think he was there in day one. I think even before day one. And he is composing, and he has some videos, and he's composing like classical stuff, with cello and piano and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I found about that just recently, and he has some examples on YouTube, and it's amazing. So having all these notations, and then some things I'm not capable of. But this is, So this is, as you said, there are so many people in the community who are also kind of into music one way or another. That's really awesome.
Well, I think it's back to your point about just being fun, engaging, meeting people from not necessarily, it's strange, isn't it? Since we've been locked away due to COVID, we kind of have got out of the habit, I guess. Well, I certainly have, with just mixing with colleagues and mixing, having those water cooler moments. Now, all of a sudden, these are our water cooler moments where we're meeting cool people from different parts of the world and just having that general chat and finding what people have in common, what good interests. And like I say, for me, what stood out with the stuff that you were up to, Heiko, is the fact that you actually did a bit of a Christmas carol. I think it was a 12 Days of Azure you did for the Festive Tech Calendar. And I thought, it's just, look, it's a bit of fun. It's a bit of music. You're putting some words down. But to me, that's what is the fun, the engaging part. It draws people in. It's almost like, what is he up to over there? What's that all about? It draws people to you. I mean, is there any other reasoning behind it, or is it purely for fun? How, what have you got up your sleeve?
It's it's really fun. So this one actually came up because in August, I think it was announced that, remember, there will be the Festive Tech Calendar in December coming up if you have content. I remember it was on a Saturday morning. I laid in bed with my iPad and I read that, and I immediately answered, like, why not make a song?
Yeah.
And then it was like, Gregor said, yeah, do it. And I said, oh man, maybe sometimes I shouldn't, the reflex.
Think before you say.
And then I started thinking about the lyrics and stuff, and then I came up with this Azure Christmas, everybody, and it's really fun. And the reason is, obviously I love music, and I started to kind of do some experiments with the GarageBand app on my iPad, which I ignored for years. I didn't even know it was there. And I started with that last year, and it's so easy. It's so much fun, and so that's why I did a team song. It was released last week in the, because there was the Teams Community Day where we took part of. I have that, and there are other things in the making. I mean, we are trying to do something this year, right?
We've got to do something. Surely
Yeah.
we've got. I mean, look, the community doesn't need to see my musical skills. That's all I'll say, Heiko. I mean, I've got a drum kit behind me. I got a guitar. You know, you'll see if you check all my videos, they don't move an awful lot these days. They're in the same position.
Yeah.
So I think, but you know what? I mean, back to the point about what you do this in community. It's. I think we've learned through COVID that video series and virtual events and things like that are fantastic. But you can have too much of them. And I know I've certainly been involved with a number of conversations. How do you mix up the content to make things more engaging, help people discover new services or learn about new technology? And I think you said it to me when we spoke a few weeks back, where you said it's just getting your two passions, really, your passion in technology, your passion for music, and trying to mash them together. And look, it's one of those things. I think community enables you to have that platform where people will look at it and go, "That's great." It's no. Well, I'm sure there are some people that judge, but they can be parked over to one side. But for me, community is that platform. To just do what you feel you need to do, and that's what I loved about your content. It was like, that's brilliant. That's exactly. It's looking for something different. Well, it is. It's. There's not many people that would, even musical people, there's not many people that would put the two things together and actually go and do it through, fear of embarrassment or doing something out of order or whatever. But that's what I loved about it. It's like, that's exactly what we need more of, in my opinion. Of course, I think we need more people to do different things.
So I mean, one of the things that I really would love to do something really with, obviously with you, maybe with other people as well, coming up with a song, maybe having I don't know, different verses being sung by different people, and so I mean, there are so many topics where I can think of put that into a song, either with a backtrack of a cover song or doing something new, and I'm very sure there are people out there who would join us. That would
you don't need to ask me twice, Heiko. You really don't. I'm in. I think it'll be good fun. We'll find something out. But I mean, no, look, you're doing all this, and it's really great. And I know you've started doing some recent talks. We were just talking about there around about the technologies as well, with Ask Me Anythings and getting involved in that sense. I mean, it's great to see. I mean, I'm looking at the time now, to be honest, Heiko, and I told you, didn't I, that it's surprising how quick time flies by once you start. So we're just over the half an hour mark, which probably gives us a little bit of time to ask. The question I normally ask all the guests that come on a show is, what are these big open-ended questions? What's next? From your point of view, Heiko, why are we doing all this, this learning thing? What are the next big bets in technology from your perspective at the moment?
Well, one thing is, from my perspective, is all this metaverse stuff that's coming up. Actually, we as I mentioned, we were part of the Teams Community Day, and they had this alt space environment where we had our ScriptRunner bar, and we were moving in there. I don't have the equipment, the proper equipment, but being there was very interesting. And see, you can put a browser here and a link here, and you're walking through the room, and there was, and because for me it was 2D, so I was, my hands were all down and I could just walk through the room. But then someone came, also named, I think Tim was his name, and I could see, number one, you could see he moved very fluid, and he could he could use his hands. He was like, okay, shaking the hands, and immediately I knew, okay, this guy really has the proper equipment to do it. And we start talking about it, and he said, he's sitting at home, and then he's on the bike, and then he uses that, and he's kind of cycling through Paris, and it really feels kind of real. And so I think I think this is something that we will see. Besides, again, the fun stuff, I think that will be something that will be coming into the business and business use cases more and more. And I mean, there already are, but I think that's going to be something that we will see more and more. And also, also these events, so bringing people together, even though they are physically apart. So get a better idea, a better solution to bring this sense of togetherness. I think that's something I see.
You see it, don't you? I think they announced some of the stuff around around Teams Mesh. It looks great. I like you, Heiko. I've been in a couple of those Altspace VR. I think is it Altspace VR they call it? I think is.
I think so.
Platform.
Yeah, I just call it Altspace, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, look, the I think you can get the Oculus Quest 2. I think is a popular headset. It's on my purchase list. Now, if you've been following me or you know what I've been like over the last couple of years, I have this running list of things I want to buy, and I think my wife has started to raise her eyebrows at me now every time I put more things on it. So
budget issues. Cool. I know what you're talking about. Budget issues.
Budget issues. But no, I agree. I think you're right. It's such a cool. It's almost like we're arriving into the future of what we thought the future was going to look like, sort of 20 years ago, with all this. Virtual reality and mixed reality, and I guess the HoloLens as well from Microsoft. Development on that augmented reality. Is also a cool area that I'm sure, it's the same field. I mean, have you looked at any of those technologies? On the side yourself, Heiko, have you got any interest in them, or is it just too much?
I'm definitely interested in it. I haven't tried it myself yet. But I asked him, what equipment he has and what the cost of it. He said it's like I think 400 euros or something.
Yeah, that's about.
Where I said,
right.
okay,
That's about right.
So just just for the fun of it, it would be maybe I wouldn't do it, but if I get more and more use. So imagine you could use ScriptRunner in the future by walking through a room full of script libraries and and things like that. So that's maybe So these kinds of use cases could be also.
Well, I know they've done a few hybrid events at the Ignite sessions, haven't they, as well? I don't know if you've spotted those, where I think they opened it up earlier for people to join using the VR headsets, when they're doing keynotes. So I think the keynote speakers at it was the last Ignite session was actually there in an Altspace world, and you had all the delegates watching.
True. Wasn't it like an under the sea scenario?
That's right. I think they were talking about. I forget the guy's name from Microsoft. Now, one of the heads at Microsoft was talking about it, and he did it all with his headset on. Which, look, I mean, it's like we say, it's kind of. It brings that kind of futures, which I love talking about this kind of thing for the last part of these shows, because it's always cool to hear other people's opinions and how other people see technology and why we do some of this stuff. And I would say, as long as it's it's used for our good. So I think that's great, right? Like the same like with all the robotic stuff. So this is the other side of things, right? Like, but I think it's with all technology, right? You can do it, you can use it for good things. Sometimes you can use it for bad things, but let's hope that it's going to be more on the good side of things. I was speaking on this series. One of the early conversations I had was with a gentleman from California that works in robotics. You can check down the list in the playlist, and we talk about automation, like robotics and automated vehicles, self-driving cars and things like that. And you realize some of the decisions all of a sudden, when you're right to bring it up, because I had quite a detailed conversation, but all of a sudden now we're programming robotics with AI, and we talk about bias and decisions and morals. When you talk about automated vehicles, how do you even think about programming some AI that has got to make a decision, like moral decisions, when you talk about driving cars? If that car is going to have an accident, and the only way to avert an accident is to do some damage to a living thing, you start to get into those deep conversations with and it was such a stuff that I'd not even really considered. As a techie, you just think, it's all about the fun. You think, hang on a minute, we're crossing some lines here now.
But this is more of this, this philosophical discussions about all these things, which I think is important as well, just as the fun.
100%.
It's because tech for the sense of tech is let's say kind of meaningless. Maybe it has to serve some good purpose, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's back to your point, isn't it? Is that you can use all of these newfound features and advances for good, or you can use them for bad. And you'd like to think that most people would fall into the good camp, wouldn't you?
I think that's what I like about the community, because I would say 100% of these people are really into that area of whatever comes up. We want to use it for good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Heiko, look, it's been fantastic. Thanks so much again for coming on and giving your time up to have a little bit of a chat with me. I know you're joining us at the Welsh Azure user group in just under 2 weeks' time, I think it is.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Well, actually, from whenever this video goes out, I'm not sure when this goes out yet, but we'll probably put out roughly the same time. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
That'll be a good one, undoubtedly. So, look, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks so much for being an awesome guest, Heiko. Much appreciated.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
No, anytime. And we'll watch this space for the musical ensemble that gets recreated from off the back of this, eh?
Yeah.
That's the way. Cheers, Heiko. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Johnny. Take care. Bye.
Bye.